Our top story at the bottom of the hour. President Trump has canceled a trip to a summit meeting in South America to focus on the U.S. response to last weekend's alleged chemical attack on Syrian rebels. The president is calling Syrian leader Bashar al-Assad an animal. He's also accusing Russian President Vladimir Putin of complicity. Well, now a look back at policy. Correspondent Rich Edson shows us how we got to this point from the State Department tonight.
It began with protests in 2011, and it drags on. The Syrian civil war has invited rebel groups, terrorist organizations, and U.S. allies and adversaries, killing nearly 500,000 civilians, while millions more have lost their homes or fled the country. Throughout this destruction, the United States has debated its involvement, with little consensus beyond an assessment that Syria is a mess. President Obama's National Security Council spokesperson Tommy Vietor says, quote, "The Obama administration, the international community, handed Trump an incredibly difficult situation in Syria with no great options. But the reality is Assad has been killing innocent civilians with impunity for 6 or 7 years now." For the U.S., Syria presents a complicated challenge. Defeating ISIS, countering Russia and Iran, both allies of the Assad regime, while somehow promoting stability. By the summer of 2011, then-President Obama declared the time had come for Assad to step aside. 1 year later, he set a threshold for deeper U.S. military involvement in Syria.
A red line for us is we start seeing a whole bunch of chemical weapons moving around or being utilized. That would change my calculus. 1
year after that, Assad crosses that line. A preliminary U.S. government report says the Assad regime killed more than 1,400 Syrians in a gas attack. President Obama decided against a unilateral airstrike. He deferred to Congress and eventually focused U.S. air power on ISIS in Syria. To remove Assad's chemical weapons, the U.S. turned to Assad's ally, Russia, securing an agreement.
There can be no games, no room for avoidance, or anything less than full compliance by the Assad regime.
Though the United Nations determined chemical attacks continued. Tommy Vietor tweeted, quote, "Shipping out 1,300 metric tons of weapons-grade chemicals was a major development. Obviously, they didn't get it all. Chlorine wasn't covered. Trump was handed a mess, but also hasn't deterred Assad." Last April, another chemical attack in northern Syria. Days later, the Trump administration struck the Assad regime. Officials say the next U.S. response in Syria, whatever it is, would be coordinated as administration officials continue discussions with European allies. Brett?
Rich Edson live at the State Department. Rich, thank you.